Hey, this is Jonathan with Aptora. Today I'm going to be talking about how to create flat rate tasks, how to tie documents to them, how to tie images to them, setting up a simple commission rate for the flat rate tasks for a technician, and then also using mobile to then showcase the flat rate task to a customer and then sell it to them. So let's get started. I got my demo database right here. Start with a fresh screen with everything, nothing open. And then I'm going to go to employees and I'm going to go to employee list. And I did a lot of stuff, I did a lot of this stuff already in advance. So the first thing that I did was, it's going to be for Bill Riker. He's the technician that we're going to be doing this for. And I went into, right clicked, and I went to the employee payroll items for this guy. And then I went to his earning items right here, and I put in a commission earning ID for the guy, because he's now going to be getting commission, so he gets that added in as a earning item for him. And then I went ahead and I closed that, and I went into the employee, that I went to employees lists, and then I went to the commission method list, and in the commission method list I had right clicked and I went to new commission method, and I had chose this one right here. So we can go ahead and open the one that I'd already made. It's right here. Double click that to open it up, and you see I had chose the bottom one, labor minutes, aka flat rate time. How it works is explained here. And what this is going to do is, this Bill Riker, he has a default earning item of $15 actually for his payroll. So if he sells a 60-minute flat rate job, he's gonna make $15 off of that. However, if he sold a 60-minute flat rate job when he's doing overtime, and he used an overtime labor item on that invoice, then he would get a multiplier of 1.5. So it would be $15 an hour times 1.5, so we'd make $22.50 an hour on commission when doing any kind of overtime flat rate task. So once I did all that, I was done with setting that up. Then I went into customer invoice item list. And I had to pull in a very large list, so it took a little while. 5,999 records there. Let's close these other ones here. And when I was in this, I right-clicked and I made new items, basically. When you make a new item, you just pick the type that you want to make. I wanted to make a flat rate group item, so I had chose group, and then I made another item as well, and I did it as a non-inventory part item, because I wanted to put this non-inventory part item, which is actually going to be a Nest thermostat 3rd generation, and I put it in my group flat rate task along with a labor item, and I have already made those. So I'm just going to close these. Don't need to make them from scratch because I already got them. I can use the quick filter here to search by the sales description, and we'll just type in NEST. And here are the two. There's the group item and there is the non-inventory part. Let's open up the non-inventory part one first. You can see here that I gave it a name. That's what I named it. I gave it a category of atmospheric controls. I put in a description for it. I put in the retail price of $149.99. I put an income account for it, and I didn't put anything in quantity checking, because it's not going to be an inventory part item. That's something that we're going to actually track. for inventory purposes. So once I did that, when I made the group task item, I called it an ACA, which means atmospheric control for how I like to name things for flat rates. I did an A008 to show me that it is the 8th atmospheric control flat rate task that we have in the database. And then I did 0075 to let me know that it is a 75-minute job. And then I put in the description, and then in the group right here, I put in the labor regular, 75, quantity of 75 for 75 minutes, so $1.67 a minute. And I put in this Nest thermostat from this one that we made earlier, the non-inventory part. I put that non-inventory part in this flat rate group. Now, if you're using our flat rate plus, you could just export from flat rate plus into Total Office Manager, and you'd be able to see that here. If I go into my invoice item list, everything that we could ever sell, I have a user filter that I set up to say, you know, only show me the flat rate group tasks only over here. When I made that, I'll show you. I went into, if we edit the filter for that, it's basically just a field type equals group. And if I get rid of this on the quick filter, we'll be able to see when I exported from flat rate plus and then imported the flat rate plus into Total Office Manager, I now have 3,591 flat rate tasks already made for me now in Total Office Manager, with all the descriptions, the pricing, and the amount of minutes that every job will take. So here's a 45-minute job, here's a 90-minute job. If we go in and we edit this flat rate task, and we can see the description for it, we can see that 90 minutes of labor right there, and we can see the solid electrical wire there. Now, when you're exporting from flat rate plus, you can have it where it will put in your different kind of situations for the flat rate task. So, you know, you could have not only the regular line item, but it could have the overtime line item, the preferred, you know, the discount item for if they're getting, you know, if they're a service agreement holder, or the additional, you know, they get a discount if they're getting additional work on top of this flat rate task that they're getting done. And then the technician, when he's out in the field, he could just delete the ones that don't apply to the job. So if he was doing an overtime, he could leave the overtime line item alone and delete the regular labor line item. That's one way you can export from flat rate plus. It gives you the options when you're exporting. The other option would be to make all the flat rate tasks and have them all be for different situations. So you could have one flat rate task that you pick for this, you know, this Nest thermostat that is for overtime, and then you could have another entirely different flat rate task that's for the Nest thermostat for regular. So it depends on how you want to do it. Do you want them to just go ahead and pick the different flat rate tasks that apply to the job, or do you just want them to pick them one flat rate task and then go in and modify the flat rate task there on the spot by deleting the ones in the line items that they don't need? Because for me, I'd probably just do it that way, because it's easier to just go into the one that you want and then delete the one, what you don't need in it, so you don't end up having to search for anything else. You just find the one that you need, and then boom, you're done. Go ahead and delete the ones that you don't need, and you're ready to move on. So once I made these, I made the non-inventory item and the flat rate task item. I then went into the group item right here, and we go into the document links for it. This is the document that I attached to it. And notice that when you're making these things, if I go into menu and say create, if I go into menu and go to new document link, when you're giving it a new, when you're attaching a document to anything in the software, you're going to want to give it an alias, name it whatever you want. you're going to go ahead and find the document doing the link. You're going to put a category on it and then give it a description. That way you're able to go and search it anytime easily by category. So if I wanted to see all my document links for thermostats or atmospheric controls, I could do that. Looks like I gave it the category of thermostats. I gave it an alias of a Nest welcome guide. And that's all there is to it for attaching a document to this flat rate task. And then I went one step further, and I went into the menu for the flat rate task, and I went to image. And here on the left hand side, I can scroll to the images that I attached to it. If you don't have any images in here, they'll all show like this and empty. So just go to the top one, hit the select button right here, and go find the image that you need, and then set whichever one you want to be the primary, and then just move on to the next and keep adding more images, and you can do a total of 10 images. And then once you're done, just hit the OK. And then now I can close out of these and close the invoice item list, and we can move on to mobile now, so that we can pull this these flat rate tasks that I just made, show off the images, and pull up the document. So here in Aptora Mobile, we've made some changes to the My Flat Rate book. So that means this technician's flat rate book. And if I go and I search up here at the top and we type in Nest, here is that Nest thermostat that we created earlier. And I can open it, and we can see all the images that we put in there for it. And we can also see here below any documents that are attached to it. And we can open and download and open that document. And here it is. So this can be used to present to the customer, you know, what is an Nest thermostat? Why would you want to own one? Okay, so it's going to increase your efficiency. It's going to pay for itself within 2 years. You can control it using your phone. You can lock your kids out of it from changing the thermostat all the time. If you forget to turn your thermostat off, you can control it from your phone while you're at the office. You know, things like that. And if they have came out with, say, you know, a new Nest thermostat, you could talk about the Nest E. So I could have easily, when I was doing my flat rate tests here, I could have put in here a 3rd generation and then have another task that was the Nest E, the newer generation. That might cost more money, but I could talk about the benefits of owning one over the other. So if we go back, when you're looking for your flat rate tasks, and I type in thermo, or I could have filtered by category, we could go and we could have put other thermostats into this, into the cart. Okay, so when you're going into your flat rate book, you just go to what the tasks you want and you click the add button. So I could have added multiple thermostats to basically like my shopping cart, and I already have the Nest thermostat in the cart. I had did it earlier when I wasn't, you know, recording. And if I wanted to remove it, I could right here. But since it's already added in, we could just go in and view the cart. And now this shows the customer what's in their shopping cart. So I could now go, if I hit the next button up here, I could go from the different options, you know, the other thermostats that we added in the shopping cart. And then if they say, you know, didn't want this Nest thermostat and they wanted another one, I could just click this remove button and it would remove it from their shopping cart. But once we nail down what it is that they want to have, we can just click the add to invoice estimate button right here. And then now you can add it to an invoice that's already been made previously that you have in their customer profile. And you can search by customer, you can search by estimate or invoice number and date. So, and you can also specify, do I want to add this to one of my already made estimates or invoices right here. Now if you want to start from scratch and you're making an invoice or estimate from scratch, you just click this add to new invoice button right here, and it's going to ask me to choose the customer. let's say I wanted to do this Jonathan's Coffee Shop. I just select them and hit next, and it creates a mobile invoice. And what a mobile invoice is, that's going to show up in the office as a mobile invoice to let someone know in the office who's in charge of checking mobile invoices to make sure that the technician did everything correctly. And then they can, once they save and close that mobile invoice, it'll change it to a regular Total Office Manager invoice. So it's I think a checks and balances to make sure that somebody's verifying all that's being done correctly out in the field by the technicians. I find most people want to do that so that they have another set of eyes on it, because we're all human, we all make mistakes from time to time. So while I'm in the mobile invoice here, we can go down to the items and we can see that the item's now in there. If this was all that the customer wanted, we could go in and do a print preview, and we could go ahead and take a signature. We could show them this. They say, okay, yeah, that looks good. I want to go ahead and get that Nest thermostat. We get the signature, and then we would go ahead and take a credit card payment or get a check or get cash. We could do a combination of all three. And then I could go ahead and send them their receipt, and we would be done. However, if you wanted to go a little bit further when you're selling with this customer, what if they were, you want to try to sell them on a service agreement, or they're interested in a service agreement, or you talk to them, if you got a service agreement with this Nest thermostat, we would give you a discount. So I could just go in here and say start adding items to this mobile invoice. And let's say we want to look up a discount. Let's see if I can't find one. Here we go. So let's just grab something that's a 15% discount. We'll add that on there. And then let's say we also wanted to add a subtotal. Then we could add that underneath that one. And then we hit add. Oh yeah, don't forget the service agreement. And then we'll put the, let's say I like a $200 20-point inspection gold HVAC service agreement. So now we have all these items added in there. Put all these in there. And I can go to my print preview and we'll see them. So we see here's the Nest thermostat right there for $275.24. The discount here for being a service agreement holder would save them $41.29 today. This would be their subtotal now. And then there's the $200 service agreement. Now, once you present this to them, if they decline and say they don't want the service agreement, well, maybe we want to keep track of that. We did offer it to them and they declined, and also can prove to my boss that yes, I did try to offer them the service agreement and they declined, and I did show them how much money they would be saving. If you want to do that, then go into your mobile invoice settings, and you can just, once you have this set, then you'd be done. You never have to mess with it again. But you do have different modes that you can select, like flat rate presentation modes, flat rate presentation with items, time and materials, and things like that. Now what I did is I have it where I want to exclude item lines with 0 amounts, so that if I put the as a 0 amount, it won't show up for the customer. So if we go back, we go down here to our items. Let's go ahead and take the service agreement and put it as a quantity of 0 and say update quantities. So what that's going to do is, of course, put it in as 0 for of this being offered, and put it in as $0 now, so it won't affect our price. And then I can just go ahead and go into the discount, and I'd want to put that as a 0% discount, because if you're not buying the service agreement, you don't get that, so that gets changed to 0. And then now we're just selling the flat rate task. So now when I go to my print preview, because of the settings that I did earlier, where I told the invoice to, do not show anything with a dollar amount of 0, it's not showing the customer those two options that we offered previously. However, the office, and when I actually view the invoice myself, me being the technician, I can see that I did offer that to them. So if we're ready to proceed now we could go ahead and get the credit card payment, check or cash from the customer, and we would be done. And if I wanted to go ahead and, while I'm out in the field, make a purchase order for this Nest thermostat, we could go ahead and do that while we're out in the field. We could go ahead and go into chat to alert the office about the sale. However you want to run your company, you could go ahead and get into doing that. And if this was an inventory item and the Nest thermostat wasn't a non-inventory item, it was an inventory item, you could have that when he sells it, to have it go ahead and pull from the inventory from your warehouse. It could pull directly from the guy's truck. He could of course go into his inventory on hand, and he could go search all of these main warehouse, different service fans, all of them. So when you're doing flat rates, you can do non-inventory or inventory, and since mobile will be tracking how long the guy is spending on the job, if it ended up taking him longer than, say, 75 minutes to do a 75-minute flat rate task, you would know that. And you could then, and since you know how much you paid for the Nest thermostat, and you know how much the guy cost you, you know how much commission he made, then when you job cost that flat rate task, you'll be able to see what it was. You could do it gross profit, shoot for, say, 70% gross profit on your flat rate task. Or you could also go ahead and do a net profit to see what you got for the net profit on the flat rate task. And if it's not where you want to be, you could say, okay, are we charging enough for our labor rates? Do we need to increase that? Or is the technician not doing it fast enough? So you can see where the problem is. If all your other technicians are being able to get the job done in 60 minutes, but it's taking this guy 75 minutes every single time, then you could see maybe the guy needs more training, as opposed to we need to up our prices. Anyways, I think that's pretty much it on what I wanted to talk about on the Aptora mobile with flat rating and the commissions and adding images and things like that. But I do feel that the being able to do flat rate presentations now is going to be much easier and will help technicians close deals, because a picture is worth 1,000 words. I feel like it'll help the technician with selling. It'll help him with talking points. It will help him with remembering what he needs, with different options that he could offer to the customer, and the benefits of owning it, and basically just help educate the customer as be a consultant to let them know, here's your different options. It'll come off professional when you're selling that way. So that's pretty much it. If anybody wants me to do any kind of demos on mobile or Total Office Manager, or has any kind of questions for me at any time, you can just give me a call at 913-276-2170. That's 913-276-2170. Or email me at jonathanf@aptora.com. Thank you.